Hello, everyone. Welcome to our roundtable discussion. All right, I can see people joining in. So we'll give a minute to everybody, and then we formally start our discussion. Okay, so as people join in, let's formally start. Welcome to our roundtable discussion on NexGen learning strategies, insights from Brandon Hall Group winners, conducted by EI, powered by MPS. We thank you for joining us today. This roundtable discussion is a part of the EI Expert Series. EI, powered by MPS, is a leader in emotionally intelligent learning design, helping our clients navigate digital transformation. With over 30 years of experience, EI creates solutions that drive performance and maximize ROI and ROE. Our award-winning solutions deepen learner engagement, enhance upskilling and performance, and deliver strong ROI for organizations. From strategy to development to delivery to measurement, EI works with all our customers across the globe to ensure training investments deliver the best results. So while we engage with you today, here are a few logistics that I'd want to talk about. To ask questions, please use the questions panel on your control bar. We will leave time at the end for all your questions, specific ones should you have them. The chat is also open for today, and we really hope you will share your thoughts and experiences as we go along in the discussion today. Your feedback and perspectives on what we present today and all your own experiences will make this webinar more valuable for everybody. So please join in on today's discussion, share your thoughts as we go through, or just simply pop in, say hello, and let us know where you're joining from today. During the discussion, we will also have polls that will be launched to better understand your perspectives as audiences. So please do participate actively. And like always, this webinar is being recorded. We will share a link to the recording and the presentation via email. With that, let me introduce you to our esteemed panelists. So we begin with Michael. Michael Rochelle is the Chief Strategy Officer and a co-founder at Brandon Hall Group. Michael serves in a variety of roles, including overseeing research and advisory support for organizations and several solution providers. He's one of the company's principal analysts covering all areas of human capital management. Michael brings nearly 40 years of experience in executive leadership, different roles in that, and a variety of organizational settings. Michael, a very warm welcome to you in this discussion.
Thank you.
Next, we introduce you to Jennifer Zaborowski as the Director of IT and Learning and Development at Regeneron. Jennifer leads a learning strategy aligned with IT's technology roadmaps. With over a decade of experience, she has launched the IT Career Framework, the IT Internship Program, and the Enterprise Data Literacy Programs. Passionate about diversity and inclusion, Jennifer has also founded the Women in Tech Networking and Mentoring Group and has created Regeneron's IT Internship Program as well. Her work has earned her multiple accolades, including several Brandon Hall Excellence Awards and 2023 LearnX Diamond Award. So Jennifer, again, a very warm welcome to you as well.
I'm so excited to be here, Soma. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have Simona Scaringi, and she is a training professional at GS1 Global Office, dedicated to enhancing the GS1 training community in learning and development. Simona focuses on establishing a relevant training foundation in the marketplace sector and other key areas for GS1. As the coordinator of the global training network, she connects GS1 training professionals worldwide. Previously, Simona held various roles as a sales representative and coordinator in the private sector. Simona, very welcome, warm welcome to you as well.
Thank you, Soma, and hello, everyone.
And finally, I'm Soma Bhaduri. I come with over 20 years of experience in learning and performance consulting, and my focus is on global learning strategies, workforce enablement, and performance ecosystems. My expertise lies in learning design, and with a proven track record of maximizing ROI for clients, I have been instrumental in enhancing performance and organizational success for several of our clients, including Regeneron and GS1. So with that, we move on. I would set a bit of context as we move into our discussion. So as we all know, the future of learning and development, as we dive deeper into it, it's quite evident that technology is evolving at almost an unprecedented pace. And fundamentally, that is reshaping our approach to upskilling and reskilling. Today, what's happening is organizations do recognize that talent development is one of the most critical drivers when it comes to business growth. And reskilling is therefore becoming essential for maintaining that competitive edge for organizations as well as for their workforces. Now, so what is changing? What is evolving? Well, the next-gen learning strategies that are fueled by AI, and with that, you have a lot of analytics, sometimes real-time analytics coming in, which is transforming how we deliver training. There are a lot of you would have already heard, known, or even you may have adopted that already. Personalized and adaptive learning platforms, alongside the very popular immersive technologies now, like AR, which is augmented reality, or VR, virtual reality, and all of these are at the forefront of this revolution. They are enabling the organizations to create engaging, very impactful learning experiences, and these are helping enhance performance and agility for the modern workforce. To substantiate this, we do have some notable statistics that corroborate. And like you can see, according to a LinkedIn 2023 Workplace Learning Report, about 89% of L&D professionals believe that building skills is really becoming critical for navigating workforce transformations and remaining competitive in the market. Also, Brandon Hall's research shows that 72% of organizations believe that AI-driven learning technologies will become essential for improving learner engagement and performance in the coming years. So in this session, we really aim to explore how these cutting-edge technologies are defining the L&D landscape. Along with that, of course, we will discuss strategies that our winners and our esteemed panelists from Brandon Hall see for future-proofing our workforce and ensuring that employees acquire all the necessary skills to thrive in this increasingly evolving and dynamic environment. Along with that, we will also share and uncover a few innovative approaches that we see will shape the future of learning. So with that, and before we move to the panelists, let's do a quick poll. You will see a question coming up on your screens. And here we would like to take your opinion on what you think. Kashvi, I think this is the second poll that is coming up. We need the first poll to come up, please. Can everybody see the poll question? Okay, so we have, well, this was meant to be the second poll, but nevertheless, what do you see as the biggest challenge your organization faces when implementing emerging trends in the learning solutions space? So we see a good 28% saying system integration challenges, adapting existing content, and of course, measuring business impact. But budget constraints seem to also have quite a bit of a space in here. All right, interesting. We will move to then with that to our panelists and talk about some of the next gen learning strategies and trends, and we would like to hear from them now. All right, so the first question is for you, Michael. So here, what key trends and tech innovations are driving these award-winning learning programs that you see? And how do you see them shaping personalized, scalable solutions?
It's a great question, great two-part question. But generally speaking, when we look at the awards, submissions, and the case studies that we create from them, there's a huge shift towards technologically enabled learning. I mean, it's a massive shift. Some of it is a hangover from the pandemic, but a lot of it is really just learning from the idea that if you need to create personalized, memorable learning at scale, you can't do that manually. You can't do that through a traditional classroom environment. And also with multi-generational learners, we have the biggest percentage of digital natives coming into the workforce ever. So they're expecting, just kind of modern look and feel, terrific interaction with technology as if they were home. And so there's a huge expectation now that technology is going to win the day and candidly drives learner engagement and overall learner experience. And so they're looking for that, versus boomers like me that didn't have that offered to them. It was read silently as I read aloud, is what my teacher used to tell me. So what we've got to do, though, is we've got to bring that in a way that is best practice for the learner. I think many learning and development organizations, their first reaction, at least in the years that I was a head practitioner as well, was we thought about technology as it relates to how it helps us in our job. It was very much admin focused. And now we have to think about it as the learners are our customers, and how does technology create a breakthrough that creates these highly immersive, drawing us in, super attractive approach to learning that's technologically super cool and really kind of drives the experience. And I think that's the number one thing that we're seeing with the award-winning programs is how they've put the learner first in terms of technological decisions. And it's not an aid to admin, or it's not like making my job easier. Actually, a lot of this tech for a lot of L&D professionals are making their job harder because they have to learn the tech stack. But I think we finally made that massive shift towards what does it do for the learner? And I think that's the key trend with technology.
Right. And yes, very, very insightful, Michael. Well, Simone, I come to you next. Now tell us, with this, precedence, how is your organization using AI and adaptive learning to enhance personalization, to boost learner engagement, I know you're doing some work there, so it'll be great to hear from you.
Thank you so much. So hello everyone. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here today and to be part of today's conversation. So as someone mentioned, I'm a training manager at JS1 Global Office, and JS1 is a global not-for-profit organization that develops and maintains standards for the industry in collaboration with industry leaders and various stakeholders. So for us, in the context of standards, training has a really relevant role because, of course, we continuously need to ensure that our standards are well explained, well received, and that JS1 members worldwide, industry members, learn how to apply them. So that is really the relevance of training within our organization. And now, returning to your question, Soma, I want to take a step backward to answer your question, because there was a very huge switch or a very huge change in the way we were delivering training during the pandemic. And I'm sure that many of the attendees relate to that, that switch, because we were really moving from classroom, physical classroom, to virtual session, virtual webinars, more e-learnings, so more training online. So there was an increase in that sense of the requests coming from our industry members, and also there was really the need for the situation that time to start to use also new tools. So in our case, we started to use Zoom for webinars, and of course the switch was not automatically, so we needed to learn also how to engage the audience in those virtual trainings. So we were starting to use Mentimeters, we are starting to use all Zoom features, breakout rooms, and so on. And I have to say that after 1 year of 2 years of being in this transitional phase, I don't know how to call it, but in this phase of assimilating all those changes, as a result, what I see as a result was really a big step in the direction of personalized learning, because suddenly the learner, and at least our members, they had more options. Because they had classrooms still, they had hybrid training events, they had virtual events, they had really blended package, so we had more offerings, and I think we are going in that direction of personalizing more and more the learning path. And here is coming also artificial intelligence, because it's really again is boosting that in that direction. And what we did 1 year ago, actually we paused after all those change, and we evaluate a little bit the training trends, and we decided on what to focus. And one of the focus areas that we chose was innovation. And as you can imagine, new technologies and artificial intelligence was really part of the innovation area. And we decided to start investigating on that. And we started what I call the AI journey. And Soma, she knows very well, because we asked their help on that, as they are experts in the area, and they have also experience on the matter, what we didn't have at that time. And starting investigating, what I want to say before maybe even saying how our organization embrace the AI opportunities, what is important is really to have a goal, to start with an objective, because the AI area is really a huge area. You can get lost into it. So it's better really to define what is your reason for starting using AI. And for us was really to to make our processes of developing training assets quicker and easier. And maybe this is also related to the one of the main answer to the poll, that was budget constraints, because I found that AI maybe can help on that, and I will explain how. So this was the first goal, and the second goal that is really related to the to enhance personalization, and really to again to customize a learning path for your customers, and in general for our members, is to increase the training offer. So to make sure that we can we have a variety of training assets that can be create an offer that can be customized as much as possible, and this is something that AI can do it. And for example, we tested an AI application to create videos with an avatar, and it's just incredible, because using this application you can create a video within 3 hours, so it doesn't take so much time, and you can offer instead of just sharing a document on a topic, you can offer a training asset that is much more attractive, and is it increases also the engagement of the learner. And this is also something that really AI can enhance more and more. So for us, that was the goals, and we are still investigating how to reach how to make our processes easier, and which application can help us to increase our training offer. But for sure we are going in that direction, and we will do more and more for that.
Well, thank you, Simona. And that was quite an insightful journey into how GS1 is moving the AI route, and what are you doing, and what we wish to do in the future. Okay. Moving on, I will come to my next panelist, Jennifer. Your insights. How are you future-proofing your learning strategies and ensuring there is workforce agility and adaptability?
I like this question a lot. So Regeneron is a biotech, and in our case, a lot of the science that we're using, particularly in the genomic space, but also in the research area, and even in the manufacturing area, is only happening here. It's frequently changing and really evolving rather rapidly. Our scientists are tremendous innovators as well, which means to enable what they're doing, IT, where I sit, also needs to be really very future focused, and we do have to maintain a strategic perspective on how we're doing this. So one of the ways we future-proof, I liked what Michael said about putting the learner first. IT audiences, who's a chunk of our stakeholders, typically don't have the world's longest attention spans, and I'm including myself in this, because we jump from task to task. The technology really is moving very quickly. Some of our technology partners are doing weekly or bi-weekly releases, so it truly is very much a moving vehicle. And a lot of my stakeholders in IT also like to do things like play video games, engage a lot with the internet. So as both Michael and Simona were saying, the expectation of the learner is a lot different. We're competing with their attention for a lot of other things, including a pretty significant workforce workload, and a lot of pressure to continue innovating. Balancing that with our regulatory landscape can be pretty challenging. And as Regeneron has very rapidly moved into 18 countries this year, that means we have multiple sets of regulations and things we didn't have to think about quite so globally a few years back, like data privacy, our security, have really become increasingly important. And that means as someone looking at learning strategy, I need to make sure that our learner base, which is frequently all of Regeneron, there are a good 30,000 of us if you include contractors and whatever, and equally my IT population, are enabled to comply. But we need to do that in a way that is very learner focused. And we also need to make sure that their skills are also future-proof. For example, can we partner effectively with AI? It's putting some pressure on the repeatable kind of rote tasks that happen in IT, but it means that we need to be better at partnering with AI. And all of that taken together, one of the first things I do is definitely adopt a learner-centric approach. A lot of our training actually looks a lot and behaves a lot like video games. We do a lot of scenario-based learning where we have our stakeholders, our learners practice the activities we want them to be proficient at in real time, give them real-time feedback to get them comfortable. And we also are very careful about keeping our training roadmap, which the near-term roadmap is quarter by quarter, but the longer-term roadmap is 3 to 5 years. And we're pretty diligent about staying very closely tied with our IT leadership and their strategic decisions around technology direction, technology enablement, and technology adoption. So it's a pretty dynamic environment. It has a little bit of chaos and a lot of change. And in the learning organization, we're really tasked with helping people be chaos and change surfers and feel comfortable and proficient navigating all of these things that add to the complexity.
Excellent. And yeah, I think from the three of you, we really had some, I would say, potential, insights into how, what we really call as next-gen learning trends, right? And how is it sort of evolving? Okay, great. With that, let me just open up a very quick bonanza, I would say. You just have 5 minutes, and I think you will see a form in the chat. If you could fill it out. You have a free consultation, 30 minutes, absolutely free. You can book that with Team EI and Michael Rochelle, and just plan your next Brandon Hall win. Okay. So I hope people are making the most of it as we proceed and move to our next poll before we head to our next section of the discussion. All right, so how does your organization ensure that L&D content always stays relevant? Okay. Let's see what the results say. Wow. So 42% of you say exactly, I think, what we believe should be the way forward. Continuous learner feedback, followed by regular content updates, which is absolutely important if we need to have the most updated content and learning that goes to your learners. With, of course, 21% of you that believe partnering with experts is the way forward. And yeah, benchmarking against the industry of a few of you. Well, good insights. And with that, we now proceed to the next or the second part of our roundtable, the most exciting part, because here we are going to talk about creating winning strategies, and each of our panelists will have a couple of questions or rather, thoughts that they share around how you could create winning strategies, what should be some of the training focus areas for 2025, and so on. So with that, let's proceed to our open discussion. I will begin with you, Michael. So my question to you is, just a second, sorry. So I have a two-part question for you, honestly, Michael.
I'm ready.
What strategies are helping organizations future-proof their workforce? If you want to answer that, and alongside, which competencies would you think are essential for the workforce that they're trying to future-proof to remain adaptable in an AI-integrated learning environment?
Yeah, it's an interesting two-part question. So the learning strategy, I think the number one critical success factor for future-proofing is organizations in our research, the case studies that we create. When business stakeholders are involved in setting the learning strategy, everything works right. When businesses aren't part of the learning strategy, then it's just a bunch of, disorganized learning tactics and initiatives that don't drive anything going anywhere as far as future proofing. And we actually send the wrong message to employees that we are not a learning focused organization, and we're not thinking about how continuous lifelong learning gets to the heart of the top and bottom line of the company, which pays everybody's salary, and so it goes. So I wish I could come up with a laundry list of things that sound super cool to talk about, but that is the number one thing that we look for, is you've got to be on the same page. How do you do that? So just a quick 2-second on that. When we work with organizations to connect the business strategy to the learning strategy, you can't jump from, hey, I want to improve my customer satisfaction scores, to what are we going to teach everybody? It doesn't work that way. What the missing link always is, what's the business objective? What role does talent play in meeting that business objective? And to what level of proficiency do we need to elevate talent to be at the level of readiness? And what that leads to the learning objectives. And then we can measure our success on that. So if you're looking for like one key takeaway on that, is don't skip the middle. You can't go from, I want to grow 40% next Tuesday, to what's Sally's new skill set that she has to learn. Like, it doesn't work. It's like, it's a moonshot. Get to the middle part, which is what role does talent play? And talent can't dictate nor be able to make up for everything else that has to take place to hit that business metric. So it also puts focus on what can talent actually do to drive that. So it sets a realistic expectation for the learning, and it makes for a clear ROI. Okay, so we've just fixed everybody's learning strategy, right? Now we can go and talk about, what do we want our folks to know? The number one thing that I see organizations, and we do a lot of professional development courses and certifications, and the one thing I always see is we skip over digital dexterity. That's number one in my mind. We assume everybody loves technology, everybody's in love with their devices, everybody's in love with goggles and games and everything. It's not true. We have to make sure that to future-proof the workforce, we have to raise the digital literacy and the digital dexterity of our employees. You can't just automatically assume that they're just sitting around saying, I had on the top of my mind the other day, blockchain and as it relates to learning. And IoT, I'm wondering how I can get my learning to talk to my dishwasher, right? So it doesn't work that way. We've got to be able to train people. The other is change readiness. There is one other great thing, is to get our employees to understand that change is inevitable, and we have to embrace change. We can't be afraid of it, can't be worried about it. Got to really focus on change is just inevitable, and how do we make the most of that, and how do we get excited about it? And then the last one is belongingness. Is you've got to make sure that if you want to be able to succeed in future-proofing your workforce, everyone has to feel like they can be part of that future. They can be part of that process, that their opinion matters, it values. So if they have a great idea for learning, don't say, no, I didn't create the learning, so it doesn't count. We've got to have them participate. They bring experience and expertise every day. It's like we forget about what their resume was when we hired them, and what they've learned on the job working for you is to get everyone to feel like they're part of that future proofing, and people aren't just dictating what the future looks like to them.
Wonderful. I think that's exactly where every organization, or the way we think about upskilling, reskilling people, making them adaptable in this environment. Everybody needs to think on those lines. And you already have shared some brilliant strategies. Anybody, Jennifer or Simona, anything that you wanted to add or chime in?
Resounding agreement, most definitely. And I think what Michael was sharing about the alignment with the business and the learners, that really was, I think, one of the drivers for setting up an IT training area in IT. Our central L&OD folks can't possibly be experts in research and, testing medicines and manufacturing them and selling them, and then all of the underlying functions. So the federated learning, I think, provides kind of that link you were talking about and brings you closer to the business's goals so you can keep that alignment. And that's critical because then you have kind of outcomes, granted they're rolling, but outcomes to aim for. And what really also struck me was the comment about engagement, because it's partly a generational thing, I think, Michael, but at Regeneron, when I joined, we were about 3,000 people and we're like 10 times that big now. So that little core group of us who were really solidly enculturated and really on message, we're bringing in new people all the time. And I need to get them comfortable with the culture, but also they don't necessarily use the same set of tools and technologies that we do. And honestly, my dear friends in the old guard can kind of get comfortable in their big comfy armchair of 10-year-old technology. And I have to very gently get them to get up and think about rounding out their skill set. And that's an important thing about the being part of the future. It's like, this technology, if it's not sunsetting, it may have already sunset, and you're a phenomenal leader, but let me introduce you to some shiny new toys that don't bite. And that is an interesting conversation, because some of that is generational, but then some of it is generational in terms of how long have you been at this company dealing with this tech stack. I experienced it when I came here. I came from investment banking, which is a very different environment, very different set of regulations, very different set of skills, and frankly, completely new technology. And so you can't underestimate that learning curve for the newbies. And it's vitally important to kind of pull them in a way that makes them feel like we're happy you're here. You're bringing a lot of great experience to the table, but we've got some exciting stuff for you to learn and get involved in. I think that's really important.
Right. Well, I just wanted to continue on that note with you, Jennifer.
Sure.
To say, how are immersive technologies like, again, AR, VR, but then there are several others, or maybe, high-end gamifications and so on. How are these enhancing learner engagement or helping in driving measurable performance improvements, according to you?
You are spoiling me with such fun questions, Soma. Thank you. I love this one. So at least for our stakeholders, I think that the engagement is a really important key to driving the performance. And I'll zoom in on one interesting kind of challenge that we've navigated and with EI's help pretty successfully. Not all of the systems at Regeneron are managed by IT. This is an activity that if a lot of our very critical systems have owners that are actually out in the business, and some of even the admins who are fingers on keyboards, taking care of these systems, protecting our intellectual property, adhering to all those complicated things I mentioned earlier. So we want them to do it the same way, because that's how we keep the security and the compliance and all of the things we care about, including the end user experience. Some of those admins may have more training or more, experience with a given system, but to an end user, it shouldn't feel jarring when they jump. It shouldn't feel like a beat up old Volkswagen and then a Ferrari. That's really horrible learner, user experience, let alone learner experience. So one of our challenges to give everybody, a nice, reliable Tesla was to build out this library of these are all the activities you're expected to do as somebody who's entrusted with the care of a system. And that's closer to maybe 3,000 people, about 10% of the workforce, and they're technical folks, which means potentially a short attention span. There's a lot of occurrence of things like attention deficit or dyslexia or other neurodivergent characteristics in that population. So the way we've gotten them engaged is with a lot of virtual reality type experiences, and a lot of gamification. instead of saying, okay, everybody, we're going to get excited about backups and disaster recovery because nobody's excited about backups and disaster recovery, we created, with EI's help, a really beautiful training that's like a sim world. If you're my age, you'll remember that. I think there's still an equivalent. You're entrusted with the space colony and you have to keep it, keep it sound. They can get behind that a lot more than sitting through backup and restore, but it teaches the skills and the activities that we expect them to do. And we get great feedback about it, and they don't run and hide when it's time to assign new training. So I think that's definitely one tactic. If you had told me 10 years ago that I would be helping and collaborating on training that looked like video games, which I have no interest in playing, I probably would have laughed at you, but it's a great way to meet that really critical, chunk of our stakeholder groups, these 3,000 people that are taking care of all of our technology, and get them all on board with what they need to do and get them confident that they can do it successfully.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I think those are really, I would say you made it sound fun, but they're such critical, and important points.
Yes.
I think that every organization that is looking to, design their training focus on. Michael or Simona, any thoughts, anything that you'd like to add to what Jennifer just said?
I mean, just one quick point, just to reinforce or riff on what Jennifer's saying, is we have to remember that the technology is going to be the gateway to the experience of the learning now. This is the key. It's a digital representation of how it's going to go. And so we work with many organizations where they think that their learning is bad. And what we tell them is that nobody's learning anything. Nobody gets the content because the technological gateway is bad. So they're not even, their experience ends with, I can't find anything. I don't know what I'm doing with this. It's just craziness. I'm out. And for anyone who's done, implementations of technology, got one chance to get it right. And then people are like, forget it. And they go complain to their boss. We're used to putting someone in a classroom virtually or in person where there's that embrace by the instructor. I'm sitting next to someone, I say hello to someone, I might know them, I might not. And we kind of get ourselves ready. We know what a PowerPoint looks like. We kind of take that for granted. But now to do personalized learning at scale, like you got to get into a tech environment. And if you're not getting people ready for that tech environment, they're never going to get to the learning part. They're just going to say your learning is terrible, and you'll be like, why? And what they're really saying is that your gateway to the learning is terrible. So I think when we start to think about our change management, it's got to be technologically minded change management. It's not content change management.
Yes, and I think I definitely agree with you, because that's what we see with most of our clients, where we're really trying to drive change. I would say change management of sorts. All right, great. Simon, I come to you next, and I will like to continue with the topic that we had asked you in the previous section. So, how are AI and analytics transforming personalized learning experiences, and what new skills and competencies do you think are becoming essential for your employees here? If you would like to talk about that a little bit, Simona, and then
Sure.
talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. So talking about artificial intelligence, we had when we started to investigate what we could do with artificial intelligence, we were really attracted from the data analytics, because really when artificial intelligence meets data analytics, there are so many opportunities there that is just incredible. And everything is going again in the direction of personalized learning more and more. And we believe that that is an area that really we want to investigate more. And at least for our case, there are many AI features that can be integrated in your LMS. In our case, we use the Docebo. So we are really investigating what we can do, or what we can integrate, because I know that not all LMS are the same, but for sure there are many opportunities in terms of really AI can really be there with the learner during during an assessment, can give instant feedback. It can customize, even customize a training, a lesson, and can really accompany you during your learning path. So there are so many things, and we decide, again, is a question of deciding what is the priority for you. In our case, we think that the most we can get the most from what is the predictive analytics. So really, with AI, you can predict behavior and performance, and then you can analyze those data and really adapt a learning path to your learners. And I think that is the area that, at least in our case, we decided to focus more on, because again, AI is really a huge area, and I believe that it's important to have a goal and to decide what to focus on. And now I'd like to link to what Michael and Jennifer said about new skills and competences. Because it's true that at the moment we are not searching for a teammate, but I'm sure that at the moment we will write a new job description, we will take into consideration that we need flexibility. And maybe we don't need someone who is technical, as a technical mindset, but still we need someone that has the flexibility to adapt to new change and to learn new technologies, because this is what we learn from the pandemic. This is what we learn from all the new training needs. We need to be ready to change and to embrace whatever is coming, and really trying to adapt to the to follow the flow in somehow. And if I think of other skills, I think also I would add also creativity. And this is something that in our organization we are investigating. I also in other area, not only training. For example, we are investigating how to use artificial intelligence also in customer service. And that is really a good example for me, because there are so many tasks that customer service team handle every day that can be repetitive. And for sure, AI can help on that. And then there are other skills that then at the moment AI is supporting those repetitive tasks. Then you need to use your creativity, because that is really where you can make the difference, and really developing creativity, communication skills, and everything that is related to people skills, because that is something that AI cannot do for us. And maybe something that also I would add skills, or maybe this is more competencies, but it is AI literacy. So we have, at the moment, we have like, we can easily access to an application, AI application, but do we really use this application with its full potential? I think we need, and with Soma, we had a discussion about that, because I was asking to organize a session, training session on AI literacy. And this is something interesting to see, I mean, to ask to a newcomer in the team if has this type of experience, and this type of is not yet listed as a competencies, but yeah, this type of facility of understanding how to give instruction to AI and get the outcome that he wants to get from there. Yeah, so I think really, again, there are areas that we will for sure investigate it more and enhance more in the future.
Sure. Thank you, Simona. And I think close to that topic, Michael, I'd come to you to say, with now that we see, AI shaping personalized learning, how are then the people, processes, and technology aspects evolving to enhance interactions that we typically have before, during, and after the learning experiences?
So the intersection between AI and all of that,
Yeah.
that we're seeing right now falls into three buckets. So when we see organizations trying to optimize their learning from a people process tech, they first think about, how do I make the experience itself better? Secondly, how do I create eye-popping, attractive content that personalization really has to do with being able to do multiple iterations of the same content instantaneously, so that we don't come across as one size fits all learning. And then the third is, can I achieve better insights from the learning through advanced analytics generated through AI? So those are the three buckets. So what does it mean, the people process tech? The first one is, I want to let everyone know that nobody's job is going to get replaced by AI. So the people part, we're safe. What I tell people when I talk to them is, what will happen, kind of like in a practical sense, is the only thing that could happen to you is you could get replaced by someone who embraces Gen AI. So we all have to kind of get on the bandwagon and learn it. But more importantly, people have to start thinking about what skills it takes to be more like pulling from IT. When I used to oversee IT with corporate services, is like, I used to try to steal from that to bring into the HR team, to say, we all have to become experience managers and learning now. So we can't just rely on the formal instructional design, subject matter expert training thing. We have to say, we have to create like a Disney World, Universal Studios experience for learners. Like, it's not a push strategy anymore. It's actually a pull. We have to attract them in. How do we create the best experience? So we need new competencies in that area. I think we're trying to generate an experience, sell people on the idea of learning. From a process standpoint, and I think this dovetails with one of the questions that was asked, is it's great to have all these technological gateways, like create like all the rides and the amusement park. But if they don't make any sense to the learners, like if it doesn't follow a good process, then it doesn't work right. So for example, when I do like workshops on how do you teach someone the process-oriented steps, like the 5 steps to riding a bicycle, where technology helps is, you probably don't want to start with having somebody read a book or a manual about that. The way the brain works is you want to leverage video and immersive experiences to say, let's go through what it looks like to ride a bike well. Then the brain has something to attach to. So when you get to step 1, which is get on the bike and not fall over, the brain gets it better because it understands what the end point is. So the process has to change, has to be reordered to get technology to kind of be in the right place at the right time. And then the technology itself, you can't have people going all over your organization, linking into different places to get to the tech. That's just a user nightmare. So you got to kind of figure out a way where, if you decide to introduce technology to kind of create this Gen AI experience, that Gen AI has to be the gateway to getting to things faster, to expedited ways of being able to connect on the tech and get things answered, whether it's digital assistants. It's not just embedding Gen AI in the middle of a tech platform. It's what can it do to circumnavigate the complexity and difficulty to get to, my boss told me that I'm terrible at listening, and he or she's not going to tolerate that the next time we get together or next time in a meeting. I may have like 10 minutes to figure out how to become a better listener. Can I do that? And so the promise of Gen AI is to be like, well, yes, you can. Let me explain to you, and here's some things that you could absorb really fast, kind of like the Matrix. But the last part that I'm hoping for is Gen AI used properly, is going to give the right insights to improving learning. No more smiley sheets, more trying to climb Kirkpatrick K2. Let's just get down to what's actually happening real time with learners and understand the impact. But most importantly, the promise of Gen AI allows you to bring in other data points. Like, when it rains, why do people not want to learn as much? Which is a true phenomenon. How do we take the other things that impact me as a person and how that reflects into how my learning goes, and can I pull that all together so we can get to things like learning driving employee engagement, driving retention, making people feeling like they belong, because we have to treat the learner as a person first. So Gen AI finally gives us the promise to say, well, maybe these people that are learning isn't because they're bad learners or the content is bad. Maybe there's something going on with them that they're not in the best position to learn. And if we have that data and insights, it's not about changing the learning. It might be to change their learning condition or priorities to learn better.
I think you just answered what a lot of others also have on their minds right now, Michael. So thank you for that.
Sure.
I'm a little mindful of time, so I will quickly go to the other two panelists, and we want to listen to you for a few of these other pointers that would sort of holistically wrap up our discussion. Simona, very quickly to you, how do you think these innovative sort of L&D practices help in future-proofing workforce or ensure that we have lasting impact on both employee growth and business outcomes?
Yeah, I believe that innovative learning and development practice, first of all, are essential for organization to really ensure lasting impact on employees' growth, but also on business outcomes, because somehow they are related. What is important for me, or what is the foundation, is really to create a learning culture. So this is something that is not obvious. So you, as a training department, you can organize a bunch of training sessions for your employees. But this doesn't mean that you have that learning culture. So the learning culture that I'm talking about is really to bring employees to encourage them first constantly to develop new skills, and has to become part. They have to feel that the learning is part of their daily work activities, and they have to feel that we grow as an organization, is everyone is growing individually. It takes time. It's not something that you can build in 1 month, maybe not even in 1 year. But for example, by my experience, it's something that is happening at my organization, and it took some time, but it is happening. And what maybe helped a lot, first, having more and more personalized learning path. And for example, we were offering the access to one learning platforms, the ones that they have already many training offering, but it was not working well for everyone. So now we are offering 3 or 4 different training platforms to access, with also the option to suggest one that is more, that is really close to what is your learning expectation. And I think that really helps a lot. So again, personalized learning paths, I've seen also with my colleagues that it's really working. It's making them closer to what we expect from a learning culture, that the learning culture that we want to build. And something also that I think is very useful, and we do also at our organization, the collaborative learning. So we have a sort of mentorship program. So you really learn from your peers. So you can learn from someone who has more experience than you. And this is just, just amazing, because you learn a lot and you learn from a colleague. So again, it's part of building that learning culture, because then it becomes really part of your daily work life. Yeah, so I think it's very important.
Thank you. Thank you, Simona. We're actually at the top of the hour. I do see 2 questions that have come up in the Q&A section. Jennifer, can I ask you to just answer one of them if you're able to see? Okay, I can read the question out for you. It just says, as industries face increasing disruption, what proactive steps can organizations take to ensure that their L&D strategies remain effective? So is it going to be AI, AR, or VR, or how flexible can the learning approaches be to support this goal?
My suggestion would be kind of echoing something Michael said, to start with the business outcome that you're after. And I'm thinking about, we had an interest in improving AI literacy across the board, which looks different in each area of Regeneron. So rather than saying, oh, let's do this type of training, or let's do classroom, or let's do this, we kind of started with what is the outcome that we want, and then kind of worked backwards from that, thinking about our audience and what would work the best with the audience, and then what kind of time they would have, and what the challenges were likely to be. And AI is actually a good challenge to think about. Not everybody, as Michael was saying, and I think Simona echoed, not everybody's excited about technology. Not everybody is comfortable with it. So we had to be flexible in that, you know, we need a drop-in cafe right next to the coffee barista that's in every Regeneron office with free coffee, and it's obviously always crowded. Having a little drop-in geek booth where you can play with AI with adult supervision for some micro learnings that you can do while you're drinking the cup of coffee in question at your desk, with the goal and the idea of removing the barriers to why people would be comfortable or uncomfortable with AI, and making it very accessible. And then once somebody's over that barrier, then they're not going to be as flummoxed if they're asked to include, virtual reality or AI into their job function, which everybody is now. Was just really kind of lowering the barrier to adoption by taking a multi-pronged and really flexible approach. I don't think we talked to every learner in each of the little mini strategies that we deployed, but taking them all together, we were able to reach pretty much everybody.
Right. Thank you, Jennifer. There was another question. I think we will go back to the participants. We thank you for asking the questions. There was a special October offer, so the participants that are still on the bridge, you can avail of this, and we can help you out for this. The forms would be there with you. Done with the Q&A, you will receive our thought leadership assets along with the recording. And so finally, we thank you, all of you, for joining us, for staying on the bridge over time, 2 minutes, and participating very actively in this roundtable discussion today. I thank all my panelists for being such superb, people that have shared very, very insightful strategies with all our participants. And with that, we wish you a happy Halloween. Have a good day or a good evening and good night, everybody. Thank you.